It's a great pleasure to be here with you. 4 subjects I'd like to cover. First of all, what is operational leadership? Second, if you do it, 9 things you need to do well. Third, what is the role of a coach and a consultant in this? And then I wanted to, in the final conclusion, talk quickly about the software and the book which I wrote. Operational leadership. This is where I learned it from. Dick Hackborn is the man who brought HP into the printer business. And he had a definition which became the standard in HP. The job of top management is to see the waves that come of opportunities and make the company ride them. And these are 2 different things, very different things. They're not the same. Seeing the waves is looking out, understanding the trends, the triggers in technology that trigger off new waves, new opportunities. These are the new markets that we may find. And then making the company surfing them is making it happen. Other people had said similar things, like John Cotter, and he said, there's something missing in our management concept. We need a second operating system. This has to be the agile, network-like structure and a very different set of processes. And that's what I'm talking about. Normally, we view management as a sort of a value chain. We define a vision and a strategy. Then we have operational leadership, which turns this into something happening. Then we have business functions, which perform. And if we do it well, they achieve the operational business results. And for me, from the point of view of management, operational excellence means you always achieve the goal. Let's look at this value chain backwards, like we would do an operation in a factory. So the purpose is to achieve the goals. In order to achieve the goals, the business functions have to perform in a certain way. Operational leadership's job is to make that happen. Now, what is the job of strategy and vision? In that view, backwards, strategy and vision provides the information that operational leadership needs to lead the business functions' performance to achieve the goal. And whatever is required, strategy has to bring up. What do we need in the product domain? What happens in the competitive domain? What happens in the financial domain? Which critical success factors are there? Things like that. And then we can turn it around. Now, what does operational leadership consist of? And I propose to say 5 things need to be done. And quoting Peter Drucker, you need to do the right things, which is more important than doing things right. So which are the right things? First is we need to have right operational goals. I think it's the only right operational goal is income or contribution margin or throughput. The purpose of an operation is to get money from the customer now and in the future. The next is, what is the right plan? The right plan is the minimum set of actions that need to be done to achieve the goal. And the right plan, as you will see, means to overcome the obstacles that keep us from reaching the goal. Now comes the third one. I think executing operational plans well is extremely tough. And then this is an agile process. Things change. New ideas come up. New obstacles come up. We have to treat operational leadership like we design software. This is an agile, like a Scrum process. We need to check, and we need to find out how we're doing. We go back to planning, and we turn this wheel. Right operational leadership makes this wheel turn. Operational leadership is an agile, adaptive process which goes through plan, execute, adjust, plan, execute, adjust again and again. So the first thing is set the right goal. One tool which I found absolutely essential. The management team must agree on one single goal chart, which says this is our goal and this is how we track how we're moving forward. And we have one and only one line on this goal. The moment you put more than one value on this chart, you lose the focus on the goal. And it is a key leadership instrument. As you will see, when you go, you need to track how you move forward. But if a CEO shows this chart, says this is what this company is about, the operational level, this is what we're doing, it's a marvelous leadership tool. The next thing is think systems. Now, that I found difficult to communicate. I'm talking about viewing the company as a system. And I've learned to ask the people with whom I work to make a system diagram. And I say, look, the system that you manage, it consists of the internal functions that we have, but it is the whole ecosystem that we manage. By the definition that every element which has an influence on how we achieve our goal hinders us or supports us, is part of the system. We have to take the ecosystem as a whole. I mean, a supplier can limit or help. A customer can limit or help. The law can limit or help. A lot of forces outside, especially if you're a sales manager, most of the constraints you face do not come from the sales organization, they come from somewhere else. And the team needs an agreed upon view of a system, I call this a system chart, for afterwards, for instance, where are the obstacles to reach the goal? We need to check every function. Where are the necessary conditions? Who is going to do what? To build the operational plan, the team needs to have an agreed upon view. Everybody who is in the company needs to find his place on this chart. Number 3, have a simple operational plan. I've come to recommend a PRT. A PRT, however, displayed in a view which my clients like better. They struggle with trees, mentally. And I've learned a one-page plan which we used, which was a standard practice in HP, which was a table. It's also a tree. And it's a tree read this way around. So here's the goal. Here are the critical success factors. Here comes something which I talk a little about later. Normally we forget the competitor. But the competitor have an essential position in our operational plan. The competitors impose, if they can, limiting conditions on our way of doing business. The minimum we should do is understand what they are doing and understand how we're going to be better and how we overcome them. Comes to necessary conditions, which define how we do that, comes to obstacles, what hinders us to do that, comes to who is going to do what to overcome the obstacles. If it's well written, it fits on one page of paper. And the beauty of that is you can carry it around, you can show it to people, you can discuss, and it's also a format in which it's easy to adjust if required. The competitors, these are the key elements. How do the customers compare us? Do the customers see a significant difference between them and us? If, like one customer, one client of mine, he delivers his machines in 6 months, he has now faced a Chinese competitor who is delivering in 4 weeks. Because the Chinese has said, we produce to stock. We produce machines to stock. And my client produces to order. Is that a significant distance? I tell you that's different, that's hard. And you better know what to do. The other thing is that we need to understand how we perform in functions. How quick are we in delivery? Is this ODA loop? Remember John Boyd. What is most important, I think, is how quickly do we turn this wheel of plan, execute, check. Plan, execute, check. If our competitor does it every 3 months, like one of my customers do, and we do it once a year, perhaps, the competitors will just be faster. And the faster we are, like you discussed yesterday from India, I mean, speed is essential in this. The next thing I learned is individual plans of units are autonomous. The critical success factors, the obstacles, the necessary conditions, they are local. To sell in Israel, I have a completely different situation to be successful in Israel as compared to China. And if I don't recognize that, I make a big mistake. I may force a company initiative throughout the company, and it may be total waste because it doesn't contribute locally. So my conclusion is you plan bottom up. If you have a product unit, you plan this product unit and that product unit. If you discover the same constraint or obstacle here and here and here and here, that one goes up. That's a systemic one. It must come up. You plan goals top down, no question. The goal goes top down, but the plan goes bottom up. What do you do in execution? It's focus, focus, focus. Do as little as necessary. So focus on 2 things. One is focus on the goal. Track progress to the goal and have a comment explaining what's happening. That gives a mental picture of how we're moving forward. Here we have color codes, good and bad. That's all. We just track the goal. The next thing we need to track is progress in necessary conditions. Like in this case, we had defective shipments. We started at a pretty high level and we drove it down in a few months. This was a progress, an improvement. It was a breakthrough improvement in this process. And if we want to track an operational plan and execution, it's goal and necessary conditions and just that. Next thing is checking. You can be excellent in execution, that's good stuff. Or you are very lousy and you miss the goal, and that's bad stuff. And it depends in which situation you are, how you now react. Do you redo the plan? Do you do now? You do a CRT? Do you go really deep to understand the constraint? Or do you say the plan is okay, the goal is okay, we adjust and we move forward? What do the leaders do? It's really three key events that they need to drive and own and never ever delegate. Number one, the operational planning workshops. These are the workshops where the plans are designed or reviewed. Number two, monthly quick reviews. Understand exactly how we're moving forward in goal and necessary conditions. And number three, the deep reviews. Be there when we analyze if the plans are okay. In essence, what we're doing here is we're introducing a Scrum process. We are introducing Agile by saying deep review in first quarter, a sprint of 1 quarter, next deep review, another sprint, and so on. And that schedule must be driven by the management and owned by the management. This is a picture from one of these workshops. Everything on the wall, the system diagram, the plan, the goal chart, and the whole team works on this like it's a beautiful piece of art in the end. Now, what is the job of the coach, the help, the consultant? Well, actually, you need, like in Scrum, you need a Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is the drum beater, is the one who says, we have a next review, everybody prepared, this is the key event schedule, and at the same time, because for most management teams, this is new stuff. It needs to be coach, and coach in TOC, in the sense of this is an obstacle, this is a constraint, to get the language, let's do a first CRT, we are off track, now let's go deeper, let's understand the thinking process, and that's what the coach does. And I found that a company, let's say with 2 levels of plans, needs at least 1 full-time Scrum Master. Companies who are doing this well, and I have customers who do this like a religion. It's a real pleasure, because if they do it well, it's consistent growth, it's consistent development, and and they are used to do that like a machine. Every 3 months, in some companies, even the board comes in for the deep review, and they define the next sprint. Because all the problems were in execution, I had a piece of software designed, which I call, in honor of Eli Goldratt, the Delta T cockpit, because it's a cockpit that leads you to higher throughput. And it puts in prominent place the goal chart, and it shows everybody who works in the operational team how we're doing on the goal. Below is the workbench. What do they have to do? Everybody sees the whole plan. And here is a graphic display. How well are we executing? Finally, I've summarized all that in a book. My clients have said, can't you write a manual for this, please, so that we can share it with our people? How do we define the critical success factors? What is an obstacle? How do we do? Thank you very much.